So in D&D, there's lots of different ways to roll characters. Most of the time when people roll stats, they take 4d6, roll them, remove the lowest number, and then they take the last three, and that ends up being your stat. Some people do things like stat distribution. There's things called standard array. There's lots of different ways in order to gain stats in D&D. The strangest, however, that I ever encountered was showed to me by the people who taught me how to play D&D. And it was weird. The guy who actually taught me how to play D&D was actually my best friend's uncle while I was in high school. My best friend had an aunt and an uncle who would play D&D with him, and they played with second edition D&D because they played in the 80s or whatever. And they had a really weird concept on how to play. They insisted they knew the rules that well, but in reality, when I read the rule book, it was nothing close. Their method of rolling stats was to take 3 20-sided dice, roll them each, take the highest number, and that was your stat. Now, if you know anything about probability, this absolutely makes no sense. In D&D, the highest stat that you can get naturally is 18. And they told me this. They told me if I got a 19 or 20 to lower it to an 18. But if that's the case, you have a 3 in 20 chance of getting an 18, which is 15%. That's higher than any other stat. I think they also had a limit, you can't go below a 3, but that's also weird. So I didn't quite understand why they were doing this, but that's just how this particular group rolled. And since I was new to the game, I went ahead and did it with them. Once in a while, however, they would go ahead and they would roll a different kind of character. And we called this type of character a D30. With this type of character, they took a 30-sided dice, yes, those exist, and with it, they rolled their stats from there. So you took the 30-sided dice and you rolled it 3 times, and you took the highest number, and you could attribute that to whatever stat you wanted. This particular character was way stronger than almost anything else in the game, because in 2nd edition D&D, the highest stat was a storm giant, and it had a strength of 25, 26. And with a 30-sided dice, you had a chance of rolling a strength of 30. I don't get what they were going for, because even the rule books, they capped at 24, if that. I don't quite remember. So I did some real basic math, and we all figured out what the stats would be if you had 30 strength, 30 dex, 30 whatever. We just kind of got it from there. And we all made D30 characters, and they were all kind of fun. My best friend at the time, his D30 character was a demon called Lola, and she ended up marrying my D30 character, a werewolf named Mooney, or nicknamed Mooney. His actual name was I was going through my weeaboo phase, so I made him a Japanese man. His name was Saito, Hajime or something, but we called him Mooney, and it was cool. And he came from the Moon Dance clan. With my character, I had 2 different character sheets. When he was in human form, he just was a regular D20 character, and then when he was in werewolf form, he was a D30 character. So it kind of made more sense that way, and it kind of evened it out, and he was a true Lycan when he can transform whenever he wanted. So it was neat. Moon Dance, I had a lot of fun playing that particular character, but the D30 stats just made it weird, and the power balance among the party was just goofy too, because you couldn't really play with others, because if you have a character with 30 strength, 24 intellect, and 19 charisma, you're going to be better than everyone else. The 2nd edition didn't allow for that sort of diversity. So yeah, we just kind of played with these D30 characters, and we made them and we did our best with them, and we were new to D&D at the time, but yeah, so Moondance ended up marrying Lola. If you want to know about Alex's character, Alex actually rolled a vampire that she named Mapvel. Now, Mapvel was actually named off of, I believe, a candy from the Dominic Deegan webcomic, and she was cool too. She ended up serving Lola as a general in her army. in our little D&D adventures, we all sort of like wrapped each other's like lives around each other, and that's kind of how you're supposed to do it, even though we kind of played these settings like a very monster of the week or very like separated campaign setting. It was really, really weird. I don't think I've ever encountered a rolling system quite like that ever again, but I'll always remember that really odd experience of rolling a character so ridiculously powerful that it kind of makes the campaign a little silly anyway. Because D&D has always been a numbers game, and when you're not role-playing, it really is pretty much like a tabletop war game, which is fine, but that's always kind of awkward. And this also leads to that like whole drunken power thing that a lot of players get to. Once characters get to a certain power level in the campaign setting, very little is ever actually able to punish them for their weirdness. Like average town guards are considered like level 0 or like level 1 at best. Level 2, like a squad of level 2 is considered like an elite guard, especially in 2nd edition. So when you introduce a character who at level 1 is by the numbers better than anything else, like even up to level 5, you know, something ain't right. I don't know. Am I the weird one here? Has anyone else ever seen like a stat distribution system this weird, or am I just like the only one who's ever experienced this? I find it hard to believe, but I've never actually heard of a stat distribution system quite like this. I know that wasn't your typical story, but it was a weird experience that I had growing up playing D&D. I don't really have too many interesting stories featuring Mooney or Lola or Matt Bell. Really, they were all just kind of disconnected adventures that just kind of, you know, were a thing. Maybe in the future, if there was some interest behind these characters, I might be able to like dig up my old notes and see if I can find out where they ended up or what they ended up doing. All these characters did feature in my wife's and I D&D comic we had while we were in high school, but it wasn't very good. I mean, I could share that if you want. Anyway, if you liked this experience or if you found this kind of interesting, if you have any experience like this, I would love to hear it like in those comments down below, because I have no idea. I've never seen anything like this. If you like this video, give it a like, hit the bell and subscribe and do all those things YouTubers want you to do. Roll a nat 20 for me. Yeah. Tell me your stories. Oh, and watch our other videos. Yay, bye!